These are the two items I have gotten from Michaels. I got these neon colors from the Brush Marker Pros and the Pigment Deco brush. I think the difference is like this one looks a bit different than this one. This ones are like acrylic paint, I think. I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna open it up now. Here are the 12 neon colors. It comes with like a little pamphlet. It says Brush Marker Pro, how to use Brush Marker Pro. And then it gives you a whole ton of tips on how to best use the markers. It feels hollow here. Oh, I got it. Now what makes these so special is that these are their neon color edition. So that's pretty cool. These like have the neon colors in them. And there's a whole bunch of them. There's 12 of them. So I have all 12 now. They're pretty cool. I can't even lie. I kind of like them. Okay, and now for me to struggle to figure out how to open this. This is store horizontally. I got that. Do I like push it out or do I look around? Oh, I figured it out. You lift this and then, ooh, this one comes with like a whole book. One marker, multi-surface art. And it looks like this. It also comes with a ton of instructions on how to use the pens. This is a lot of colors. Hold on, how many does this come with? Oh, it's a customization kit. Okay. This is the pastel colors. It says swap the markers between boxes and arrange them in order to suit your best preference. After you are satisfied with the result, cover the original names and colors, both on the side and outside of the boxes accordingly. Okay, this one came with like a whole thing. So, we have a ton of colors. Pastels. They're so nice. I wonder, can you take this thing out? It doesn't look like you can. Okay, so you can't take it out. So, what you have to do is... Oh, and it has like the swatch list on the lid. So you can write down all the swatches you have. That's really cool. So here we have all of the colors I got today for Michaels, and I'm gonna quickly go into a swatching portion of the video, and then the next time you will see me, I will be back home, because right now I'm on vacation, and when I come back home, I can actually record myself using them. Hi, okay, so I'm back in my house now, back from vacation, that's what it is. I went back from my vacation. I have my sketchbook and the markers that I got. I want to show you guys. I did swatch them out, but I just didn't like the video. I kept doing this over and over again, and I just didn't like how that looked in camera, so I didn't record. Like, I didn't save the recording, so these are the swatches of all the colors. The neon color and the Deco Pigment brush ones. There is quite a lot of colors to choose from. We have a lot. The only problem is that I find it kind of hard to open this. It's like my one complaint about the design is that like it's so hard to open for no reason. There we go. I figured it out. See, this like opens like that, and then it can close like that too, but it's like confusing for me because it's really hard to like open it and have it not pop off. All of our neon colors. These are all of our neon colors. We have quite a few to look at. We have 12 of them, so there's 12 neon colors here that we can use for any artwork, which is pretty cool. I'm pretty excited to use them. And then we have the Pigment Deco brushes. These are like acrylic pens, I think. They're not in the order they actually come in. I kind of forgot what order, so I'm just gonna take them all out. I like the idea of a carry case, but to be honest, this is like a bit more bulky than what I wish it was for storage wise. So I definitely would not recommend using it as a carry case. just because like it's not really a good size for it. I was gonna do like a whole swatch page dedicated thing, but I didn't end up doing that, so now let's just move on to the next page. So I'm going in this not really with any idea on what I want to do. All I have is just a bunch of colors that I'm planning on using, which is all of these new pens. I have my iPad in front of me as well, so I can perhaps look up some references and stuff like that. What I was thinking was trying to just develop my own character type situation. I recently did an art trade with someone on Instagram. I had a lot of fun drawing their OC, and I felt bad because when it came to what they were to draw for me, I don't have any really OCs, so I just asked for Miku because I really like Miku. I think Miku is cool, so I just asked for Miku. And yeah, I do kind of have an OC. It's this guy and this guy. I haven't drawn them in a while, so yeah, this is like their original page that I came up with them in. Could be kind of fun doing like a couple pose or something. I think that could be kind of swaggy, to be honest. I have drawn them in 1 or 2 couple poses, but not many, so I don't know. I think I might draw them and then do some acrylic marker tips and tricks with that. Yeah. While I'm sketching this out, I'm actually going to be talking about some certain things that have been popping up in my brain. I'm going to do some tips and tricks for acrylic markers, but I don't want you guys to think that these are the only tips and tricks you can do. A lot of people have different tips and tricks. Some people prefer other people's tips and tricks than other ones, and that's completely fine. What I just don't want anyone to do is like compare and contrast, you know, like if I do something a certain way, it doesn't mean you have to do it that way too. You can do it however you want. Look at how big this head is. I'm like trying to figure out how big I want the head, and it's like not coming out right. Oh yeah, disclaimers. So yeah, if you see me do things in a certain way and you prefer how a different artist does it, or even how you do it, you know, you don't have to follow my exact tips. This is just more so like for anyone that has like tried something different and certain ways to use markers and just want a different way on how to use them and are looking for a tip. What this video is going to be is just like a couple of tips and tricks how I use acrylic markers and stuff. I wanted to say thank you for 200 subscribers. I honestly didn't think anyone was going to see my videos, so seeing that 200 of you saw my videos and were like, yeah, I'll subscribe to this, is so cool. I really appreciate every one of you. But yeah, thank you for 200 subscribers. Like I said, this video is going to be a bit of a long one because it's going to be my drawing process basically of like using acrylic markers. I plan on making a different video for like alcohol markers and watercolors because those all have different ways of using them, so it's important to give them all their spotlight and stuff. And there we go, we got like a cute little photo of them. I'm gonna change his hat to, I'm thinking like a man bun. I was also thinking about giving one of them a rat tail, but I don't know, I don't think a rat tail would really suit either one of them. Also, I don't like the man bun anymore. Oh no. Okay, I gotta figure out what to do with this guy's hair. You can't have the same haircut as each other, but maybe you can have long hair. They're honestly kind of low-key having the same hair as me and my boyfriend. My boyfriend has a mullet and I have really long hair. Well, not really long hair, but it's starting to get long, so it's interesting to see that has sort of manifested into my characters. Do the hair like this. I have a really heavy hand. It's really hard for me to draw and pencil because like it's really hard for me to sketch because it ends up being too thick of a line. And there we have it. Here's the sketch. I like this guy's face now. I'll give him some thicker lips. And I think we're gonna go in and color the entire thing with this red marker. Or it's orange. Okay, I'm gonna color in the entire thing with this orange marker. The reason I'm doing this is so that way it creates like a nice base color. Basically, if I had to explain how I color in, hold on, this is like really loud. If I had to explain how I color in with acrylic markers, it's a lot like how I color with gouache and acrylic paint. Basically you gotta like thin layers, I guess is how you would say. You want to do thin layers, nothing too thick right away, because if you go thick then you don't really have anywhere else to go, because there's just going to be a ton of paint on the page. But if you start off kind of thin, then you can work your way up from that. So like, I always like to do sort of thinner coats of paint on the page. I think like a thin coat will get you a lot farther than just having 3 thick coats. A thin coat works a lot better than having like 1 thick coat, because this way you can like sort of build up the color a little more softer and it creates a more blended look. So I wanted to give a tip on like how I get the skin to look smoother, even though this is being drawn with acrylic pens. And because it's being drawn with acrylic pens, you know, like it's kind of hard to blend, I feel, for some people. Like, at least it was for me when I first started using them. So I'm just gonna basically give the advice I wish I had gotten on them when I first got them. Number 1 is when coloring skin tones, I really recommend using either analogous colors, which is like colors that are next to each other on the color wheel, or complementary colors, which would be like colors that are opposite in the color wheel. So like, actually it would probably be more like this one. So like these two for this one, and then this one and this one for this one type situation. Because these two colors are next to each other, I color the skin with these two, and then I can also color the skin with this one and this one because they're in the opposite sides of the color wheel. So it makes it a little more, I don't know how to explain it, it makes it a little more pronounced, I would say. The skin tends to look a little better because it's colors that match together well on the color wheel. Like, it wouldn't really make any sense to have the skin be yellow and then the shadows be green. It wouldn't really make a lot of sense. It would just kind of honestly look kind of weird for me. But yes, my first tip is definitely to use colors that match well on the color wheel for skin tones. It really will help make your skin tones look a lot smoother and a lot more humanish, unless you're going for like a non-human look, in which case, you know, just use whatever colors you want. Even if you are going for a human look, you don't really have to use the colors that I use exactly. When doing the shadows, I also recommend doing a little bit of color goes a long way, especially once you blend it out. Like, as you can see, I used a little bit of purple for the shadows, and like, it's very pronounced. You can tell where the shadows are. You know, if you do too much in the shadows, then it ends up kind of throwing off the entire painting, and it's really hard to tell what you were doing originally, because the whole thing is just like a different vibe, I guess. Like, unless you're, again, everything I say, I'm gonna put a big fat disclaimer. Everything I say is how I do art. You do not have to do it this way. If you're going for a very like dark and grungy look, then by all means go ahead and do like a lot of contrasting, but this is just for the way I like to do my art, and you don't have to follow it. You can do it the way that you like to. But I know some people are always curious in other artist methods, so I just wanted to put that out there. For me personally, I think a little bit of shadows goes a long way in my art specifically. I think either like doing too much can make it kind of look washed out and like hard to tell what you're looking at. End up doing is I either choose colors that are very close to each other in the color wheel, and colors that are close together in saturation or in lightness or darkness, or ones that complement each other well. So like, if you go with like a really dark color for the hair, maybe the skin ends up being complementary to the color or to the lightness or to the saturation. So like, maybe your hair is super saturated but the skin is kind of desaturated. It's all about like creating contrast and like making it complement each other, which can definitely be very difficult. It wasn't my strongest suit for a long time until I would say fairly recently. I've been getting better at it. Okay, there's that guy. I did his face and his hair. Now for this guy, I'm gonna do a different way of doing skin. This one is by using a blue and an orange to make the skin tones. If you wanted a more extreme lighting looking painting, maybe use complementary colors rather than analogous colors. That doesn't look too bad. And then if you're using complementary colors, I would recommend either using probably like the one that you're using for the shadows, like a darker version of it, or the complementary color that you're using for the main skin tone, to use that for the shadows. Another tip I have is in when it comes to trying to get a more even blend, place down your first color. Like this, for this example, I put down the blue first, and I put it in a pretty even and thin coat, and then I go over it with a thin coat of this orange. And you want to do it while the paint is still wet, so I work pretty quickly when I'm doing these this way, because if you don't, then the painting comes out a bit more patchy, I would say, or it would come out sort of missing that blending look to it. I feel like a broken record, always repeating, like, again, if you don't like that look, that's okay. You can always do it a different way, or, you know, work around this to see if there's like some tips that you like better. When it comes to coloring clothes, I recommend using the color you want to use, and then a deeper, more saturated color to complement it. Then you can have a lot of like really cool, more saturated version, and like the shadows will look more pronounced. I would say it'll make the fabric look more three-dimensional, which I think ends up looking really cool. If you want to blend and you don't want to use like just like ruin the tips by blending them while it's wet, you can also just blend it with your finger while it's still very wet, or use a paintbrush if you don't want to get your fingers dirty. I honestly don't mind getting my fingers dirty, so for me it's not a big deal. But I know some people have allergic reactions to paint and other stuff, so it's all up to you and what you prefer. The best way to clean the tips on the brushes, like when it's like dirty, is simply to just grab like a scrap piece of paper. And then what I usually recommend too is to start your coloring with either the darkest or the mid-tones. Now what that means is that you either start with the darkest color you plan to use, or the actual color that the fabric is going to be. For example, like maybe for this one, the actual fabric was going to be this lilac color, so I added that first, so then I could build up the shadows and the light part. This one I'm putting down the mid-tone first, and then I'm going in with the shadows and blending it out, and then I'm going in with the lightest shade that I want the jacket to be and blending it out like this. And there you have it. We have a lighter coat. This will also allow you to have a higher level of contrast in your artwork and make it seem more pronounced, I would say. If you don't want that look, you know, obviously you don't have to do it. It'll give it a more pronounced look, going in with the darkest shadows and building your way back up to the lighter colors, especially because these are acrylic markers. So if you don't end up liking how deep your colors are, you can always lighten them up. And if you're worried about getting the nibs dirty, I highly recommend doing your layers and then waiting for them to dry, or doing a layer of paint and then using your finger or a paintbrush to sort of blend them out. For this one, I sort of just did it by hand. Oh, I accidentally gave him a mustache. It's okay though, because I kind of like how he looks with it. And then I'm gonna do a little outline of the rest of his face like that. And because I used a lot of warm tones, I'm gonna go in with a warmish green on the outskirts of this drawing to create sort of a nice border around it. And if you feel like your paintbrushes are drying up, I also recommend adding a little bit of water to them if necessary. A little bit of water can reactivate the paint. You just have to put in the water and allow it to sit for about a day or two, just so it can really reactivate the paint. But yeah, I have done this. Honestly, I don't know if I would recommend these deco brushes. These kind of are very thin, which is fine when you're doing like thin work, like you're building up skin tones like over time, like if you're trying to build up a skin tone over time. But if you're gonna use them for just quick layers of paint, I would not recommend them. They're definitely layer very well, I would say, but if you're going for just like a quick 1-2 layer, that's it, it's definitely not the paintbrushes for you. I would recommend the guana or the Arctic ones. I still haven't tried the grabby ones yet, so I can't really recommend them if I haven't tried them. But these ones, they're okay. They just take a lot of layering. Like this one, to build up the color I want, is taking 2 layers of 2 different colors. Now that we have that, I'm gonna go in with a dark blue, almost black color. And I'm gonna go in and do the eyes, the hair outline, and the darkest shadows in the clothes. And there we have it. We have a finished artwork. I did this in about 30 minutes. It's really cute. It's like them being all cute and cozy together and posing, and I think it looks really nice. I hope my tips helped at least a little bit. I would recommend these markers only if you're using for like a bunch of layering together and not very thin paper, because as you can see, they bled through pretty bad on certain parts because it was so many layers. So if you're only planning on doing 1 or 2 layers of like thin paper, I would recommend them. I think they work better for thick paper. I also would say that the tips I gave aren't the only ones that exist out there. If you find tips that work better for you, use them. I hope you guys at least enjoyed watching the process of it. Let me know if you drew along with this or if you were just watching. I'm really curious to know what people do when they watch these videos. Did you draw along? Did you just watch? Or did you have it on the background while you did chores? I'm curious. Let me know down below. And I will leave it at this for this video. Thank you for 200 subscribers. Thank you for everyone that voted in the poll for which videos they would want to see next. This is the third one, the third most voted for one, and then after this one is the digital speed paint, so we'll do that one next. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys some other time. Bye bye.